Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Unusual Creates. Today I'm going to repurpose an extra chopping board that I had at my place by using wood burning method using a soldering iron and shellac, two things I have never used before. So yeah, if you want to see how it goes, please stick to this video. So I had always wanted to try wood burning or pyrography, but I did not really have the tools for it. And clearly I wasn't in the mood to buy one from the market. Hence, I decided to work with what I had, and that was a soldering iron. But the question is, can I really use a soldering iron for wood burning? I don't know. I researched a bit on wood burning and realized that the tools that people use for wood burning was quite similar to a soldering iron. Hence, I checked if people have tried wood burning using soldering iron, but I couldn't find anything relevant. Hence, I decided to give it a try and see how it goes. So before I begin the whole process, I want to make a few basic things very clear. In this project, I have used a couple of things like of course a soldering iron, a liquid called shellac, and a sanding machine. In case any of you guys plan on trying to use a wood burning kit or a soldering rod, please be extra careful. The iron gets super hot and can be quite risky if you do not take proper precautions. Please make sure that when you are trying to cool the rod, you keep it on its stand away from the people and pets. Make sure that you use a good ventilated room during the entire process. Also make sure that you use a good face mask while sanding the wood, as inhaling the tiny wood particles is not good for your health. Now with all the general safety things out of the way, let's get into the actual doing part of the video. As you can see, this board was really nasty and worn out with a lot of knife marks and scratches. Clearly it has seen its good days. So I had already started off by giving my board a good cleaning by wiping it with a damp towel. Then I used a sandpaper in the number 60 and my sanding machine and went to town. I'm also going to use the sandpapers in number 120 and 220, but I will use these later on in the video. I sanded the whole thing with number 60 sandpaper, making sure that there were no scratches or cut marks on the board. However, some marks were really old and I couldn't get it out. But nevertheless, the point was to make sure that the board was nice, clean and smooth. Once the sanding was complete, I cleaned the board using a dry cloth. Once that was done, I moved on to writing the words on the board. Since it was a chopping board and I wanted to keep it as a decorative item in the kitchen, I decided to quote the Lord's Prayer on it with the lines, "Give us this day our daily bread." One of the challenges was the actual writing part. Since I'm not a calligraphy artist, so I just googled a few images on Pinterest and found an interesting picture with a wheat stem and tried to copy it. As you can see that I tried my best, I believe, but I don't think I could copy it 100%. And yes, I did make a lot of mistakes and it did not come out perfect, but I decided to roll with it. Once I was actually done with writing on the board, I heated up my soldering iron. I was not sure of how much I needed to heat the iron, so I waited for like 5-10 minutes, and once I sensed the heat from the rod, I think it was ready to burn the wood. As you can see, I'm using a soldering iron which definitely does not come with any special bits, hence I tried my luck with the same tip for this entire project. For getting a clean lettering work, the rod should be really hot enough for the iron to burn through the wood. I started off really slowly. Make sure to hold the rod from the plastic part and try to keep the tip of the rod perpendicular to the surface. It avoids going too deep into the wood and stray marks. From time to time, you may want to use a damp cloth or a paper to wipe the tip from the soot that gets collected with all the writing. I think there is a learning curve with the wood burning, and patience definitely pays off while practicing this art. Once I was done with the words, I went in with the wheat stem. I think by now I had a better hold of using the soldering iron. Once I was done with burning the wood for the first time, it was time for sanding the thing so that the top uneven layer of the burnt wood would go away. Also, I was gentle with the whole process. I used the sandpaper in 120 and later 220 to do this step. Again, I just removed the parts that I felt were out of line or where I felt that I needed to redo the wood burning. Once that was done, I wiped the surface with a clean towel and went again with the soldering iron. This time, my motive was to just follow the lines that I had done before and try and remove the errors. Once it was done, it was time to bring some shine and gloss to the board, for which I used shellac. Again, I have personally never used shellac, so I googled a couple of videos and went in with a paintbrush, which I soon realized was not a great idea. For people who don't know shellac, it's a thick, gooey liquid which is used to give shine to wood surfaces. But in my opinion, using a paintbrush to spread it kind of gives a thick, uneven layer. Also, before you start using shellac, you need to give it a good mix, avoiding any air bubbles. Anyways, I went ahead with it and waited for like 45 minutes to dry. After this, it was time for the third round of sanding. This time I used a pencil to mark the areas where I think the shellac was spread unevenly. This marking helped me to be extra careful of sanding only the parts that required sanding. I think it was a good tip that you should use if you have to sand something. Also, marking with a pencil kind of guides you how much you need to sand. After sanding, I again wiped the surface with the towel and again used shellac, but this time I diluted the shellac with some DNA, that is your denatured alcohol. I used some 5 to 10 teaspoons of shellac and 3 to 4 teaspoons of DNA, gave it a good mix, and then used a kitchen towel to gently wipe the surface with it. Using a towel this time actually gave the board a more even coating and it did not take more than 10 minutes to dry. Also, while doing this, make sure that there are no blotchiness and the surface is even, smooth and shiny. I guess this last coating of shellac gave the chopping board its required shine and made the work look more elegant. I really loved this project. I feel that my idea of not throwing away this chopping board was a great step as I ended up creating a beautiful piece of art, something that I would love to keep at my place. I also got an opportunity to learn a new skill as well, as I got to learn that you could use a soldering iron to burn wood. Again, wood burning is a slow process and as I said before, there is a learning curve with the art. But once you get the hang of using the tool, you fall in love with it. Also, it's a good idea to start your wood burning art on a plywood as it's way thinner than the one that I used. I feel that way your wood burns more quickly. Also, there are wood burning kits in the market that come with temperature control devices that you can use to adjust the temperature of the wood burning rod. But I feel if you do not want to spend on it and just want to learn the art, starting with a soldering iron is a good idea. I feel wood burning could be a good skill that you can have, especially if you want to give a personalized gift to your loved ones. So I guess the answer to the question that whether you can use a soldering iron for wood burning is a big yes. Please hit that like button if you guys liked my efforts of wood burning using the soldering iron. Also, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's it from me. I will talk to you guys soon. Be kind and stay safe.